I want to thank you for extending to the Ambazonian Governing Council this invitation. And I want to thank your team for the wonderful work that you people have done thus far. I want to salute all participants, and I want to extend my gratitude to our people for their steadfastness and resilience. Mr. Chairman, this was a difficult invitation to ignore. It was a very difficult invitation on the other one to accept. 60 years after the invasion of our country, hundreds of people murdered, 4 years into a bloody war, including genocide, we cannot help to understand how it will be possible to sit in such a Zoom conference with colonial apologists, status quo adherent, genocide deniers. It baffles me if the Jews will call a conference in 1944 to discuss whatever they want to discuss, or after the genocide on the Jews, if they would bring together genocide deniers. Ambazonians seem to be the only people who think by associating with everyone, even those who accuse them of crimes they have not committed, those who battled for the regime in their massacres, and those who continue to pontificate and play politics with the existential threat that our people face, that it will make them look good. I want to begin with a series of observations. Before there was a country called Upper Volta, there was one called Northern Rhodesia, Southern Rhodesia. Those appellations gave way to tangible indigenous appellations that are widely recognized. The name of our country is Ambazonia. The name was started given. That is the name when it was affirmed by Siseko Ayoktabe. It was pronounced as such. We have kept confusing ourselves on a daily basis on who we are, our identity. We have doubted the strength of our country. And that is unappetizing. I would also like to react to Mr. John Fronde, the chairman of the Social Democratic Front. It is very shameful that one whom we consider as a father, one whom we battled for, many are still walking the streets with chopped limbs and arms, others buried in unmarked graves, defending the ideals that he stood for, will in the midst of our pain make pronouncements that are really hurting. The massacre in Gabo was committed by Cameroon. The massacre in Ekata, in Pinyin, and other places was committed by Cameroon, and so too was Kumba. Cameroon bears utmost responsibility for any act committed within the territory of Ambazonia during the time of its occupation and in areas under its control. Ambazonians bear no responsibility for taking up arms to defend their humanity and their territorial space. We act according to customary rules and international law. And let everyone understand that the pain that has been imposed on us, it's something that will hardly go away. fellow participants, distinguished guests, my fellow Ambazonians. 59 years ago, our country was invaded by a brutal occupier. It has since used its military to blast its way through our villages and our suburbs, hoping it can govern us for eternity without consent. It has been widely successful because it has recruited amongst us colonial apologists and enablers who have facilitated its rule, become traitors and blacklegs and infiltrators within our struggle for survival. At this stage, we've lost more than 13,000 Ambazonians. We have close to 1.5 million Ambazonians internally displaced. We have refugees in Cameroon, refugees in Nigeria. We have refugees across the continent of Africa. We have refugees in the United States, some straddling their way through the high seas to find refuge across distant places. Cameroon has burnt villages. It has murdered babies. In Gabo, it executed babies and pulled their dead body, leaving a trail of blood, packed them in a home, and set the homes on fire. Killed some Soya as though that was not enough. They chopped his head off. They burnt Mamiapi in a home. They have caused untold suffering to our people. They've engaged in political asphyxiation, economic deprivation, social exclusion. Hundreds of thousands of our people have died because of poverty duly imposed by the evil regime of Cameroon. Hundreds of thousands of students have sat endlessly within the four walls of classrooms just to emerge and become a liability to themselves and their parents. They force us to sing their anthem, worship their flag, and they've recruited from amongst us former patriots who spoke for us, but they were bribed because of international positions to accept the status quo and reject our own identity. In 1919, the Milner-Simon Agreement was signed, demarcating the international border between what now is Cameroon and Ambazonia. That border bestowed on us an international personality. 1961, Cameroon violated that international border, marched into our territory, and occupied it. They single-handedly imposed a federation which it abrogated. And I would like to use this opportunity to address colonial apologists cum federalists. The reason why it is impossible, or was impossible, for Cameroon's imposition of federalism to be sustained is because in the history of Francophone Africa, whose constitutions are coached against the 1956 French Constitution, the concept of federalism, which is designed to protect minority, does not exist. France as a country does not recognize minorities. It is based on the concept of the fraternity, equality, and liberty, which are almost slogans within the French state, brought about in 1789 after the Declaration of the Freedom of and Liberty of Man. This is also part of the preamble of the Constitution of 1946 and the preamble of the Constitution of 1956 of the Fourth and Fifth French Republic. France does not recognize minorities. That is why it has been very difficult for Cameroon, even in the midst of war, to propose anything that decentralizes power from central control. In its reservation to the Human Rights Committee, France put a reservation against Article 27 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Article 27 protects minorities within any country. France made it absolutely clear we do not have minorities. And that is why he put that reservation on Article 27 of the ICCPR. And for all those who have wasted their time promoting an agenda of colonialism in the name of federalism, they must understand there is no historical precedence in the world where Francophone states coexist with Anglophone states in a federal structure, especially when they are in the majority. Even when they are in the minority, like in Canada, they have remained permanent agitators. Francophone states do not coexist. They integrate and dominate. For anyone who believes in their wildest expectation that there will be any settlement with Cameroon that does not involve the total expulsion of Cameroon from the territory of Ambazonia will inadvertently continue to promote the genocidal system in place. We must also understand the strategy of choice of Cameroon is the military option. At this stage in our war of independence, like in any country that has faced such a threat, we will expect our intelligentsias and scholars to come together and mobilize resources for the primary purpose of the defense of our humanity, our territorial integrity, that will give us the bargaining power at any international negotiation. When I looked at the list of invitees, I was hoping to find a former general. I was hoping to find somebody from the presidency of Eritrea. I was hoping to see somebody from East Timor to come and tell us how they did it, how they battled for 30 years without blinking, how they dealt with infiltrators like John Frundi, sellouts like Dr. Simon Munzo, how they treated colonial apologists like the Agbobalas, those who have promoted inadvertently the banality of evil that has taunted our people. Fellow Ambazonians, our people die every day. It is so difficult to sit and listen to anyone. I would move to the solutioning. In the past 4 years, we have been able, through our tenacity, to undermine Cameroon's political legitimacy within Ambazonia. We have been able to massively mobilize our people across the 13 states to respond to Cameroon's brutality in the defense of our country. I know it was a difficult decision when war was declared on us, when many argued it was impossible for us to face a well-trained army well oiled, and that has used extensive force to maintain its occupation. We went in knowing very well it was difficult, but we knew others who had been free had passed through gone through the same journey. We sought initially to undermine Cameroon's power of economic exploitation, which it used to oil its military machinery. We challenged its political legitimacy by driving out the DOs, mayors, and SDOs. We made sure we rendered incapable their ability to control our suburbs. We made sure also that we changed the battlefield in terms of diplomacy, move the case for international negotiation away from the domestic control of Cameroon into the international space where we could have a chance. But we knew from the beginning, if we do not reinforce our defenses, strengthen our capabilities to defend our bloc and our neighborhood, international diplomacy will be useless. At this stage, when the international community is talking about negotiations, we know Cameroon is mobilizing its military to have an upper hand in terms of territorial control, so it can dictate the substantive and procedural aspect of negotiations. That is why we are mobilizing our people, on the other hand, to preserve the gains we have made, to make sure La République is not able to roll back our gains, and to make sure we can empower those who will bat for us internationally. I'm calling on every Ambazonian across the globe. Such a conference gives us an opportunity to be able to recalibrate, prioritize the defense of our country. I have put in place seasoned individuals with delegated powers to explore possibilities with the international community when the time for negotiation comes. I know there are resource individuals within the Coalition for Dialogue who are experts in international law on issues of border demarcation, post-conflict justice systems, and all the substantive issues that might arise during negotiations. We will tap from such a body to get those experts who can assist our seasoned expert negotiators to make sure that when the time comes, we are able to negotiate from a position of strength. But make no mistake, the solution to our independence is in the defense of our homeland. There is no second way. We must remind our people constantly that the only way to defeat Cameroon will be to strengthen our forces, give them the ability to defend themselves, our villages, and our communities. That while we prepare for the eventuality of negotiation, if we lose on the ground, there will be no negotiation. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. And I look forward with my team to working with you people going forward to building a stronger team for negotiation and strengthening our ability to defend the 43,000 square miles of the territory of Ambazonia. God bless you all.